The next level looked much different. It had the ground of the scrap brain zone, but the sky background looked like the main menu. It had the dark reddish cloud sky. But it was the music that creeped me out the most. It sounded like Gaga's theme, right after you beat Pokemon Earthbound. I also noticed that Knuckles looked afraid, just like Tails did, though not as much. More rather, he looked a little unnerved. He broke the fourth wall, just like Tails, and it looked as if he wasn't sure about going on. But I made him move anyway. He ran down the straight pathway in this dark level, and as he did, the screen started to flicker red static a couple times, and then that maddening laugh came again. Then, after a few seconds of running, I noticed several bloodstains on the metallic ground. I felt a growing sense of fear again, thinking something horrible was going to happen to Knuckles. He looked nauseated walking down this bloodstained road, but I still kept him going. Suddenly, as Knuckles ran, Sonic appeared in front of him with those black and red eyes, and the red static appeared again. When the static vanished, showing nothing but black screen, with text saying, "Found you." I'm scared now. Sonic found Knuckles already? What was going on? Anyway, red static came again, and then I was back to the level. Knuckles looked like he was panicking, and Sonic was nowhere to be found. And this time, that high-pitched squealing from Silent Hill 1's final boss was playing. Was this some kind of boss battle with Sonic? I hope to God that it wasn't, honestly. Suddenly, Sonic appeared right before Knuckles in what appeared to be pixelated black smoke. I made Knuckles turn and then punch Sonic, but Sonic vanished in black pixelated smoke before I could even land a hit. And that terrible laugh went off again. Then the Sonic appeared behind Knuckles again. I made him punch him again, but Sonic vanished again laughing. Knuckles panicking even more, and I even felt like I was going crazy. But Sonic was practically playing with us. He was playing a sick, twisted little mind game with me and Knuckles. Another cutscene played as Knuckles fell to his knees and clutched his head, sobbing. I felt his agony. Sonic was actually driving us both crazy. And then in a split second, Sonic lunged at Knuckles and the screen went black with another distorted screeching noise that lasted for at least 3 seconds. Another text message appeared. So many souls to play with. So little time. Would you agree? What the hell? Just what is going on? I started to think Sonic was actually trying to talk to me through the game, but I was too scared to think that. I was brought back to the main menu, and this time, the second file box had Knuckles on the TV screen. His red fur had darkened to a reddish gray. His dreadlocks were dripping with blood, and his eyes were black and bleeding too. He had a look of sadness on his face. I began to think that those were the actual characters trapped in those TV screens, but I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. So I shut off the game and took a break. I took a nap. Wish I hadn't, because I then began to have the most disturbing nightmare. I was in pitch black darkness, though. I was under the light given off by a lamp that hung high above my head. I could hear the cries of Tails and Knuckles nearby. They were saying stuff like, "Help us!" And "Why did you give us to him?" And "Run away before he gets you too." The cries died out as I heard Sonic laugh. His laugh sounded like the distorted Kefka laugh. "You're a lot of fun to play with, kid. Just like your friend Kyle. Though he didn't last long." I was scared, and looking around for the source of the voice. "Won't be long until you join him and all my other friends." I saw him walking towards me, flickering in and out in several directions. "You can't run, kid. You're in my world now, just like the others." When he grabbed me, and I saw his bleeding black and red eyes, grinning face, I woke up with a fright. After a couple of hours, I decided to continue playing the game. I don't know why, but I had to know. I had to figure out why this was happening. So I turned on the game, turned on the computer, and selected Robotnik next. I still thought that was wacky, playing as Robotnik, but anyway, the level title appeared again, and this time it said ... which I found really freaky. This time I was in some kind of hallway. It didn't really look like it was from any of the original Sonic games, the classic Sonic games, though it had the pixelated style. The floor was shiny and checkered. The walls were a dark grayish purple with animated candlelights and a few dark bloodstains here and there. There was a dark red curtain hanging above on the top part of the screen. Every 12 seconds or so, that curtain swayed very slowly. But whenever you're playing the game, you could barely see it move. The music was oddly pleasant. A piano playing a rather sad yet peaceful song, but I knew better. This was the song that played in Hill Act 1. Only it wasn't in reverse. Robotnik didn't look entirely nervous like Tails and Knuckles did, but he did have a suspicious look on his face, as if he was just a bit paranoid. He did a little animation when I just left him standing. He turns his head to the left, and then to the right, at least twice, and then shrugs at me, as if he has no idea where he was or what was going on. Even though I was scared out of my mind about what was going to happen, I had Robotnik continue onward. He did his usual running animation. When you've beaten him at the end of a classic Sonic game and you chase him, as we continued through the hallway. Then I stopped at a long flight of stairs leading downward. Now I was nervous. Even Robotnik seemed unsure of himself, though I pressed onward. As I led Robotnik down the stairs, I noticed that the walls had gotten darker and more reddish. The red torches were now an eerie blue. Then we landed onto another hallway. This one was longer than the last one, or at least it felt like it. Then we headed down another flight of stairs. Down. This one was much longer. It took at least one full minute. And then I heard the horrid Kefka laugh again, and then the music slowly faded until it was quiet. As it did, the walls turned more dark red and the torches were a black flame now. When Robotnik landed onto the third hallway, I noticed he now looked really creeped out, though he tried to hide it. I couldn't blame him. I was scared too. Suddenly, Sonic popped right in front of Robotnik the same way he did with Knuckles, then the red static. The red static lasted for about 15 seconds. And then it showed me a most unpleasant image. The image showed a hyper-realistic of Sonic standing in the darkness, where you could only see his face, while his head and torso faded into black. And when I say hyper-realistic, I mean like, he looked so real, you could actually see the lines in his blue fur, as if you could actually feel the fur if you touched the screen. His face. Oh God, he had the most horrifying smile I've ever seen. And that's saying something, considering I saw that image at the start of the game. His eyes were wide and black and once again crying blood, which also looked hyper-realistic. And there were two small, glowing red dots in those black eyes, staring right at me, as if staring into my mind. His grin was wide and demonic. It literally stretched to the side of his face like a Cheshire cat, except Sonic had fangs. Very sharp fangs, much like the werehog's teeth, except more vicious looking, somewhat yellowish. And from the look of it, he had stains of blood and small bits of flesh on his lips and fangs, as if he ate some animal. I stared at that gruesome image for a good 30 seconds, never taking my eyes off of it. I felt as if he was actually looking at me, smiling at me. That face. It just took 10 seconds for it to etch itself into my brain for good. Then the screen flickered with red static again 3 times. And on the 3rd time, I heard the Kefka laugh. Except this time it sounded distorted. Demonic even. It went back to the image again, except this time was the text again, though it was messed up. But it was pretty much one of the most horrifying things I'd looked at since I had this game. I am God. It was when I read that message while looking at Sonic when it hit me. I realized right there and then, this Sonic was a monster. A pure evil, sadistic, all-powerful, nightmarish, demented monster. And all of his victims, including Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, and possibly Kyle, are just his little toys. And the game is the very gateway into his chaotic, nightmarish world. The very hell his victims are trapped in. Suddenly, in an actual split second, I screamed as Sonic lunged at the screen, screeching loudly with his mouth wide open to an unnatural length, revealing nothing but a literally spiraling abyss of pure darkness before the red static came again, this time much louder and distorted. So loud that it hurt my ears. I yelped and grabbed my ears as the red static screeched for a good 7 seconds. Then it stopped and showed nothing but a black screen. As I sat there, staring at the black screen, one last text came up. Ready for round 2, Tom? The Kefka laugh. Now it sounded more clear, as if Sonic was right behind me. Played again 3 times, as I looked at the text in shock and confusion. Then I got booted back to the main menu. This time, the 3rd save file had a TV image of Robotnik in the same tormented state as Tails and Knuckles. Robotnik's skin had turned a dull gray, his mustache drooped and had blackened, his glasses broken, blood coming from them, and he had a mere dead-like expression on his face. I looked at Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik, and I cried a bit. I pitied them for the agony they were going through. They were forever trapped within the game, forever tormented by that horrid hedgehog, and always will be. Then the computer shut itself off. I couldn't turn it back on no matter what I did. I sat there. For maybe 25 seconds. Horrified by what had just happened. Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. He tortures people who plays his games in more ways than one, and then when he gets bored, he drags you into the game. Literally drags you to hell, where he can play with you always as his toy. I can't get the game out of my computer. I think it's stuck in there, but at least I managed to turn it back on now. After I sat there for 25 seconds, I heard a voice right behind me, like a whisper. Try to keep this interesting for me, Tom. I turned around to see where the voice came from, and what I saw made me scream. Sitting on my bed, staring right at me, was a Sonic plushie, smiling, with bloodstains under its eyes.